Welcome to Community Insight, the news that takes you above and beyond the scope. I'm Andre Hollywood Evans, and along with my special co-host,
NellieMae Live.
NellieMae. My special guest is here today to talk about his vision for Boston, and he happens to be running for mayor. So we'll see what he has to say, and he just happens to be the son of Patriots owner Robert Kraft. Please welcome Mr. Josh Kraft.
Thank you, Hollywood. Thank you, NellieMae, for having me. I can call you Hollywood.
Yes, you can.
All right.
Yes.
The wood.
Yeah. So why did you decide to enter the political arena?
Okay, so I've spent 35 years. 35 years ago, I made a decision not to go to work in the family business.
Okay.
And I decided to do community work. So I spent 35 years in and around the neighborhoods of Boston and Chelsea doing community work. 30 of those years were with Boys and Girls Club of Boston, starting as an outreach worker for kids who weren't going to school in public housing developments. Last 12, I was president and CEO of the organization. And while I was president and CEO, we doubled the number of kids we served from 7,000 to 14,000, doubled the budget from 13 million to over 27 million. In addition, I've done work in the reentry space and the substance use disorder space. And so what inspired me, that's a little bit of an intro, what inspires me to run is in those 35 years, I have come to love the city of Boston because of all the great people I've gotten to live, work with, listen to, and learn from. And they've all taught me about the power of community to make change, but also having the opportunity to provide access to opportunity to so many people and work with people to provide that access to opportunity to level the playing field has inspired me. And I think as the mayor of Boston, having the opportunity to make Boston a city for everybody and provide that crucial sense of access to opportunity to every single resident is something I would relish, and it excites me, and I feel passionate about. And that's why this is such an exciting opportunity for me.
Well, Josh Kraft, I can say to you that you are a very well-known man, and as well as in the communities as well. And when you came to my fashion show, I can really appreciate that. And like I said before, I called you another Mayor Menino, and I do appreciate that because he is a very well-known man. And when he was running for mayor, it just took me back to when you came in, and I can appreciate that about you. And so can the community, because the community is looking for a person, a mayor, to run for them, not for themselves, but for them. And as well as things in the community need to be done. So what would you do for the community?
All right, thanks, NellieMae. So, and I appreciate it. If I could ever be 50% of the mayor of Tom Menino, I'd be a pretty happy guy.
Yeah.
I do know that. But starting with your question, the big picture is what my administration would do for the community.
Yes.
Is we would be accessible, we'd be accountable, we'd be transparent, and we'd be competent. And when I mean competent, we would manage the budget competently and all operations competently. Because in the end, that's what the residents of the city deserve from their mayor.
Absolutely.
And most important on that, they deserve to be listened to and a part of the process.
Absolutely.
So for me, what they would get from me are those core tenets, but most importantly, listening, hearing them, and understanding their hopes, their challenges, and working with them
Absolutely.
to figure out policy that can best address their concerns.
What about housing? What about jobs, careers?
So housing, everywhere I've been through the city, whatever neighborhood it is,
Yes.
Boston's a city of neighborhoods.
Yes.
From Mattapan Square to Orient Heights to Back Bay to Savin Hill to Center Street in West Roxbury. You hear the same thing. People, first, as I mentioned, people want to be listened to, but
Yes.
also the number one challenge for folks is the cost of living
Absolutely.
driven by housing.
Yes.
We need more housing. We're in a
Absolutely.
housing emergency.
Yes.
And we need more housing, not just for our restricted income residents, but for our working residents.
Absolutely.
Too many folks that want to work in the city,
Yes.
raise their kids in the city, cannot afford to live in the city.
That's right.
So we have
that
a
is
housing
true.
plan that addresses a lot of that, a lot of those issues, especially for working people. The plan is, we know that there's 26,000 units of permanent housing
Yes.
that cannot get built. They're sitting in limbo. They
Yes.
can't get built because it costs too much money to get them built.
I agree with that.
So we would return to the rules and regulations under Mayor Walsh, where housing was being built at an unbelievable clip. So we could get those 26,000 units in the ground and create more housing
Yes.
to address the housing emergency. In addition, we want to institute an opt-in rent control program, where if a landlord
Yes.
agrees to keep their rent at minimal increases over 10 years, they'll get a tax break at the end of the year,
Yes.
and a renter will get a more affordable rent.
Yes.
That's a part of the program as well. And finally, we want to create a first-time home buyer program that includes people, working people, because too many of them make too much money to qualify for first-time home buyer programs. So we're going to increase our eligibility requirements so the working people that can't afford to buy a home in the city can be part of this program.
Absolutely.
So hopefully, between those programs, we're going to be able to create pathways to housing, not just for our restricted income residents, but our working residents and families.
As well, it needs to be done, especially in the Black community, because people in the Black community, the wages of the job wages are very low. So it needs to be boosted up a little. This is just with me, not only with me, but also in the Black community. The pay needs to go up because the minimum wage is not good at all to afford those housing, to afford the housing. And also other things in the Black community needs to be, accounted of as well. And with other, and you know about that community, you know about the Black community. So you can relate to it, and all of us as well. So, and that's why I thank you for being in that community, because you know about that community. So yeah, that's our take on it.
Yeah, thanks, NellieMae. Yeah, we need to create access to opportunity, especially for marginalized groups, targeted groups. I'll tell you a story. My mother always used to say to us, your worst day is most people's best day. So you make sure marginalized and targeted groups not only are safe, but they always have access to opportunity.
Absolutely.
So I think it's crucial for all of our neighborhoods and all our communities to have access to opportunities, but the groups that have been overlooked or have struggled more, we need to create those pathways to job training, first-time home buyers, because that's the first step to generational wealth.
Absolutely.
And improving the schools. We got to make the schools better.
Absolutely.
We got to make the public schools the schools of choice.
I agree with that.
How do you
really
propose to do that?
All right, so we have our plan, our policy. There's four parts of it. First of all, we're going to educate every child, regardless of their academic or social or emotional standing. We're going to re-engage parents because their voices need to be heard in the educational process.
Yes.
We're going to build impactful partnerships with community organizations that are throughout, and bring them into the schools to impact the kids. And finally, we're going to demand competent management from the school administration. So those are the big pictures. So I can give you some details of each. First, educating every student, regardless of their academic, social, or emotional standing. We want to increase literacy rates by 10%, especially in the lower elementary school grades. And that's one of our goals. And we will do it. Also, we want to reinvest the capital dollars in Madison Park, the vocational school that has been ignored for many years.
Yes.
But at the same time, we want to create what Boston used to have, vocational hubs at schools across the city. That's a couple for the students. For parents, we want to bring back elected members to the school committee. So that currently the school committee is appointed. We want to make it a hybrid committee with appointed members and elected members. So we're going to bring back elected members to represent the voices of parents and families in the city. Secondly, we're going to bring back the Office for Parents at City Hall, which is a hotline that helps parents navigate the BPS system.
Good.
So third, the community partnerships. When I was CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, we had 200 community partnerships, from Mass General Hospital that did a health initiative at all 11 of our clubs, to small organizations like the Children's Room that did grief counseling for kids that have lost a parent or sibling. So we want to reach out into the Boston or greater Boston areas
That's
and
right.
bring in
Yes.
these nonprofits, figure out, public-private partnerships to get them into our schools and connecting with our kids. And finally, we're going to demand competent leadership from the administrative, the administration of BPS. One of the ideas is we're going to split the superintendent's role into 2 jobs. We want the superintendent to focus on what they do best, educating kids, supporting teachers, supporting families. Then we want to pull out the operations from them and hire a superintendent of operations. I don't know if that's the title. Someone who can get the buses rolling on time. There's been challenges with safety issues in the schools and and it might even be a person that doesn't have a school background, but they have an operations, get the trains moving background. So that's a couple of the
Yes.
You mentioned
There's more. If you
safety.
go to
Yeah.
joshforboston.com, you can pull up our education policy. But safety, yes.
Yeah, safety, but there's another measure there, with all the violence in the schools, not just bullies, but, the shootings and stuff. I mean, from far as I remember, we haven't had a school shooting here in Massachusetts.
That's right.
As far as I know.
Absolutely.
How do you plan to address that?
Well, look, if kids don't feel safe in the school, they're not going to learn. If teachers don't feel safe in the school, they're not going to be able to teach. So we'll look at every option to make sure kids, students, and families have that feeling, and administrators feel safe in the school. Whether that's through social workers, psychologists in the school, public safety officials, we will figure out a path to make that happen because it's crucial
And you know what?
educational success.
The thing is, I do agree with you having, what do you say, psychologists
Yeah.
in the
Social
school.
workers.
Yes, I really do agree with that because kids need it. Because not only from their parents, but they need to talk to others as well. And also, you can sit down with the kid and the parent to get anger out, to get other stuff out. It just needs to be in the school because, like I said, they want to talk to someone else as well, who's related to their situation. And also, it's good for health. It's good for health as well. So I'm glad you brought that up. I really do appreciate it. And
Mental health is part
that's
of our
right.
student rollout
Mental
as
health.
well.
Mental health.
Mental health. We want all kids to have access to mental health support and care.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I want to turn the subject over to transportation. I don't know if I wanted to say, but
I know what you mean.
okay, the MBTA is, people need good transportation. There has been a lot going on with the MBTA. What can you do with that transportation?
Well, I know that the MBTA, it's a state agency, state organization, and actually, Philip Ang, the general's doing a great job. But as the leader of the city of Boston, we would conduct, or I would make sure we have weekly check-ins with the stakeholder, obviously the MBTA and other folks in the city that are connected to the MBTA, and do weekly check-ins, weekly meetings to make sure the residents of Boston are getting what they need from the MBTA. That's we will definitely institute those meetings.
Absolutely.
And they're working on some type of safety initiative to help run their more on time and more safe performance for the MBTA. They're working on that now.
Okay.
Yeah, but Philip Ng is doing a pretty good job. It used to be Richard Davey back in the day. He was the original general manager. But yeah, but capitalizing on what you're saying. But transportation is definitely but what my future is this. I'm a visionary. And I think the next big business in the industry in Massachusetts is going to be transportation. In other words, they're going to bring back taxis because Uber started with the gypsy cab. And I think that a lot of people are going to be going back and getting their licenses and to drive, like Uber, you got Lyft, you got DoorDash. I think transportation is going to be a big, successful business in the future. I really see that. I say in the next 3 to 5 years. The DMV is going to be crowded.
More traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, what about the parking issue? I mean, there's no parking in Boston. Everybody knows that. Is that something that's going to stay the way it is, or is there any plans for that to change?
No, we need to do better. I think in the neighborhoods, it's working with residents and folks that are building new residential developments and figuring out how can we be most efficient with parking. I know in some neighborhoods, parking isn't required for new developments. And I think we really have to look hard on that and work. And, as I always say to the residents who get frustrated by that, I said, look, if there's a development process, you won't find out about the parking at the end of the process because you're going to be involved in the discussions at the beginning of the process. So that's in the neighborhoods. Downtown, I know that it's congested. I know there's, the bus and bike lanes have impacted it, and we will really look at where the bike lanes have impacted traffic and small business.
Yes.
And community.
Yes.
Figure out more efficient ways to place the bike lanes.
So what made them change those streets, like down in Nubian Station?
Nubian Square?
Yeah, Nubian Square. It's so congested down there that it's just terrible. You know how when the buses go around the curb where the library is? That is very congested.
Oh, that's always, I know.
I don't understand that. And people get mad and angry with it. And as well as another topic I want to bring up are businesses. Not only Black-owned businesses, but businesses in general as well. How can we get more businesses up and running for the future and for now?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about both. First, small businesses. I say Boston is a city of neighborhoods.
Yes.
And the neighborhoods, the heartbeat of the neighborhoods are the small businesses. So we have to do whatever we can to make sure there's success for small businesses.
Absolutely.
We've talked about a one-stop shopping process for permitting and licensing.
Yes.
So the small business owner doesn't have to keep going back to different departments to get a license. And then the business can't open, but they're paying a lease. So this way we can make it more efficient for small businesses. For big businesses, I know I'm thinking of downtown Boston, the financial district. We're going to lose $1.7 billion in commercial tax revenue over the next 5 years because the building valuations have decreased since COVID. So as the mayor, I look at it, we're going to be open for business. We want to incentivize businesses from across the country, other cities, to come into Boston, invest in Boston, create jobs, bring economic vitality to downtown, and bring tax revenue to the city. But we're going to incentivize them to come into the city, and that's something we
Absolutely.
definitely will do.
Absolutely, and people can appreciate that
Mm-hmm.
because people think that they're paying, like overpaying for their businesses. And I have my business up and coming, and I don't want to overpay for
What's your
something that
business
I have
again,
created.
NellieMae?
It's called NellieMae Live, the NellieMae Live Show. And I have other businesses as well under that. So it's like an umbrella. And I don't want to overpay for something that I have created. It's my own business, and it's not fair
Right.
that I have to, like taxes, like electricity, all of that. That costs money. And so there has to be a plan. There has to be a plan that we can work together as far as with the state, the government, the mayor. We can come to some kind of mutual agreement.
Supporting small businesses is very important to me.
Yes.
So, however, we want to make sure they have what they need to succeed, especially small businesses, black and brown owned small businesses. That's reflective of so many of our communities and are integral parts of the community. So we'll look into whatever we can do. We'll put together we will put together a small business advisory group that represents
Absolutely.
different neighborhoods, different groups, and they'll help us figure out policy as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there you have it, folks. Vote for Josh Kraft.
Oh, thank you, NellieMae. Thank you, Hollywood. Thank you, NellieMae.
Yes.
But one question I do
Fire
have:
away.
what is the first issue you're going to attack when you become mayor?
Housing. We need more housing. As I mentioned, there's a housing emergency. We need housing for all of our residents, and we got to make it happen ASAP.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And what about health?
Health care is the cornerstone of
healthcare.
community. Without health, you can't do anything. So we need access to health care for everyone. I know that the Kearney Hospital was closed down, and
What is being done about that?
I know there's a working group working on it to figure it out. I'd want to get my hands in there as well and try to bring something back there, either ER services,
At least a
psychiatric
clinic,
service.
because there's convenience
Yes.
stores on every corner in every neighborhood. Liquor stores, same thing.
Yeah.
Why can't they have
Yeah.
clinics available? Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan,
That makes
What is being done about clinics, at least? Because I know clinics are smaller, like a triage.
Right. No, we need to create pathways to health care throughout the city.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. So, and I know that you're going to do all that you can. I know that for sure. And I believe in it. I believe in you.
Well, thank you.
And all that, all those that are behind you as well.
Well, thank you.
I really do. It's just something that I do believe in.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you so
No
much.
problem. You are.
What is your vision for Boston? I mean, what would you like to see in the next 3 to 5 years? Your vision.
My vision would be a city, right now, I think the city doesn't feel unified to me. And I want to, I want to create unity. I want everybody to feel a part of the city. And that's the big picture. Look, I want to unify the city. I want people to feel connected to it and feel like they have a voice and they're a part of the city.
Okay.
Beyond that, it's a lot of the issues, make sure the schools are better, because that's what the people deserve. Make sure
Yes.
there's access to housing, especially for working people.
Yeah.
Those are just a few.
One more, I just came to me. How do you feel about the Trump administration with the deportation, the executive
So
orders he
I'm
signed?
completely against the mass deportation plans of the Trump administration. I spent 35 years working with so many folks in the community, many from the immigrant community, many doing right, working hard, raising their families. And I think it's abhorrent that federal officials can come into a workplace, a house of worship, or a school and pull people out that have no connection to violent crime. So I will stand with our immigrant communities. They're vital and integral parts of our community. They make it move in so many ways, and I'll stand behind them.
Absolutely.
Or stand with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely, absolutely. That sounds really good because they came here with their families. They came in peace. They came to find a better place.
Better life.
Yeah, better life, a better life. And I do agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
But another thing I don't understand, they have the authority of local law enforcement and federal law enforcement. I don't understand that. I mean, I don't know if you heard, but there was a woman who was about to have a baby, and they went into a hospital and snatched her out of there. So you're coming with us. You're not even leaving.
No, I didn't hear
And
that.
I'm like,
There's something called the Trust Act that Marty Walsh enacted, and that directs police to work with federal officials for violent criminals to get them out. I support that.
Yes.
well,
okay.
unfortunately, we're out of time. But check us out on Mondays, Channel 15 at 2 p.m., and also coming soon Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on Channel 9 in Cambridge. And for more information, please log on to our website at thebeantv.com. That's thebeantv.com. I want to thank special guest Mayor Josh Kraft, and of course my co-host, Miss NellieMae. And next week, tune in, and we'll see you again next week. My name is Andre Hollywood Evans. Thank you again for watching Community Insight.
Thank you.